Hey guys, welcome to BP, the Bible Perspective. Healing evangelist Benny Hinn has renounced the prosperity gospel. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, before we get into it, I'm asking you to subscribe to BP, the Bible Perspective YouTube channel. And if you like this video, hit like. And if you want to add a comment or a question, do so in the comment section. Now, what should have been shocking news to me, it's really not shocking. Famous televangelist Benny Hinn has renounced the prosperity gospel. But what exactly does that mean? What does it mean for the church world, and what does it mean for him? Well, remember, Benny Hinn, for those of you who don't know, made his fame, and I may add millions, not so much from the gospel, prosperity gospel, but as much as peddling a false healing ministry. Now, I'll be curious to hear from him on that. For decades, he has held crusades to overflowing crowds, promising that he has the healing power of God flowing through him. Some of the more famous screenshots that you may have seen of him, it's blowing on people and rows of people falling down, or as they call it, falling out under the power. In one service, he was waving his suit jacket. People were falling out. Well, he would bring people up on the stage and he would pray for them. And reportedly, some of them were being healed. He would brag about multiple healings. And by the way, even some people would give testimonies on healings that they reportedly received. Well, the problem is that Benny Hinn is a fake healer. He cannot produce one person as a direct result of his ministry who has been healed of a tangible condition, such as a tumor, a disease, and unfortunately, terminally ill conditions. People will even go to his meetings in hope of receiving a last-ditch miracle for healings. Every one of them has died. I have personally known people who have attended Benny Hinn's meeting in hopes of getting a healing. Again, right before they die. When I say before they've died, we're talking about a day or two before they died. So when the news comes that Benny Hinn has renounced the prosperity gospel, okay, I'll get to that in a moment. Again, I want to know what he's doing about the healing ministry. He's going to repent for the literally probably thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that he gave false hope to for a fake healing ministry. I'm interested more in that. Now, if he has, Benny Hinn has been associated with, although not necessarily considered, a prosperity teacher or a word of faith teacher. To understand the whole prosperity message, you have to keep in mind those purveyors of that, people such as Kenneth Copeland, Fred Price, the late John Osteen, who was Joel Osteen's, Pastor Joel Osteen's father. And Charles Capps, they were sort of the originators of the faith and prosperity message as we know it today. Those men started under the tutelage of the late Kenneth Hagin, who was a faith healer himself in the early days of what's called the era of the faith healers. If you go back to the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, people such as, A.A. Allen, Catherine Kuhlman. In fact, Benny Hinn kind of sat under Catherine Kuhlman. And these are all people that were fake healers. In other words, they didn't produce real healings. And so the bigger question is, well, what the heck were they doing when they would come to towns in those days, set up a tent? Of course, in the case of Benny Hinn, rent out a arena. He would fill the arena with sick people. A lot of people were sick. So what what is it that they were doing? Well, they would have a normal church service. They would pray for people. But the ones who were really sick, the ones who had actual physical conditions, he would either avoid or quickly pray and keep moving on. Now you may say, well, what about those who report that they have been healed? You see them on TV coming out of wheelchairs. Well, unfortunately, in the psyche of a lot of people, they want to believe that they're healed. And in case of those you may see stepping out of a wheelchair, where they were always able to do that. Now, depending on to the degree of the condition that they have, some were able to take a few steps. Some maybe even walk for a little while. But because of the condition of their body, they usually go back into the wheelchair. And of course, at this time, Benny Hinn is nowhere around. Now, what would happen is that when they would come out of the wheelchairs, they would be paraded up on the stage, and Benny Hinn would go, well, dear sister, what happened to you? That is how the Lord has touched you. And they would say, I was sitting here and I felt a warm, tingly feeling, and I got strength and I got up out of my wheelchair. The truth of the matter is they were always able to get up out of their wheelchair. But because of the condition of their body, again, depending on the severity of it, they usually go back to the wheelchair. In other words, Benny Hinn cannot produce one credible miracle in the entirety of his ministry. And so I wonder if he would repent from that. Now, as far as the prosperity gospel, he's loosely associated with it. He's preached it. He certainly has benefited from receiving money. And of course, he is a millionaire living a very opulent life. So now, here's the question for him. If he's repented of it, what is he going to do? Forget about giving back. I don't know how that would even work. But certainly, going forward, let me read something from 1 Peter chapter 5. Therefore, as a fellow elder and witness of the suffering of the Messiah, and also a participant of the glory about to be revealed, I exhort the elders among you. Now remember, this is the Apostle Peter who walked with Jesus. Shepherd God's flock among you, not overseeing out of compulsion, but freely, according to God's will, not for the money, but eagerly, not lording it over those entrusted to you, but being examples to the flock. And when the chief shepherd appears, you will receive an unfading crown of glory. Now, I'm not saying that Benny Hinn has to give away all of his wealth. No one is telling him to do that. But going forward, the fruit would be, and I'm going to say this, let's say start with going back to renouncing your healing ministries that have damaged and gave such false hope to thousands. But of course, if you truly repented, going forward, will you then follow this example and truly feed the flock of God? All right, see you in the next study.